All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Muir. I'm one of our co-directors of training,
I'm Caitlin Fisher. I'm the other one.
and this is our fall 2023 shift leader training video. So, in this video, we're just going to go over some general stuff that you guys need to know. We'll link you to some important documents. There's also a shift leader help manual within the OWL Google Drive in the shift leader folder that you guys can reference. And feel free to take pictures of any of the slides. And we included some links. Um, the last few slides are just some links. So we could just start off with general information. First of all, thank you guys for being a shift leader. This is awesome that you're willing to sort of, spend time with your classmates and uh, help sort of share your passion with other people. That's a cool thing that we're all doing here. And a couple important dates. Our first week of classes is August 21st. And that's also that same week as when our fall 2023 shifts are going to begin. It's to be determined, but we're thinking about having an in-person training review at the OWL Lab. Last year that happened at 5 p.m. on August 20 or 5 p.m., an hour before the first shift began, because each of these shifts go from 6 to 8 p.m. So we'll let you guys know about that. And then as needed on Sundays, we'll have in-person office hours, where you guys can come with any questions, comments, whatever. And then also be sure to advertise your shifts to friends, classmates, in person if you see them in the weather center, and then also perhaps on Discord and social media. We want to get good attendance. So we have during each shift, you have responsibilities. First, I just put this first because as a shift leader, I would always forget to do this, where everybody needs to take attendance. And we'll detail that in the next slide, but there's a shift leader Google form that you have to fill out that has a list of these responsibilities, so you don't need to necessarily memorize all these. There's forecast discussions, Barron graphics, the Facebook post, Key West podcast. You'll give a presentation possibly. And then for our climate shift, there are climate specific tasks that you need to do. So for attendance, I just put this up here, an example. When I log into the owl.ou.edu page, if you click on your name on that arrow, shift attendance, you click that, you just click on here. At the beginning of your shifts, just do that and tell all your shift leaders to do it, help them. It's super easy, but if you don't have good enough attendance, you can't vote on OWL matters, so that's important. So yeah, attendance is important. Just do that right away, get it out of the way. All shift leaders and attendees must record their attendance.
So we do have a shift leader Google form, and you do have to have this form completed by the end of the shift. There's the link right there. Um, it's so a lot of shift leaders, they find it really easy to open the form and check the boxes as they go through the shift. That way they know they aren't missing anything. It's really good if you double check and triple check everything just to make sure you really have these things like actually done, because missing forecasts can kind of make you lose your position. So this form includes like all the responsibilities that were on the slide like 2 slides ago. It also has spaces for any suggestions, any issues, and just anything you feel like letting the board know. You can go on to the next one.
So one of like the main forecasting responsibilities you guys will have is the OWL forecast discussions. These are sort of based off of the National Weather Service forecast discussions, if you guys have ever read any of those. If not, I highly recommend taking a look. Take a look at the one from NWS Norman. They put them out twice a day. NWS Chicago has good ones. Any place where there's really good, you know, where there's any interesting weather, you might want to take a look at the forecast discussions, but also maybe take a look at a couple NWS forecast discussions where there's not super interesting weather, because in Oklahoma in the summer it tends to just be, super hot and dry or humid. But so basically what you'll have is a statewide synopsis, which is just an overview of the conditions across the state of Oklahoma at the moment. The short term for the state, which is going to be the next 24 hours, and then long term, which is going to be sort of the days 2 through 7 period. And then Norman, once again, you have the synopsis, so that's just the current conditions just in Norman. And then the Norman short term is once again just the next 24 hours. So the rest of the evening, the night, and then the next day. And then this was new last year. We have an aviation shift where you'll kind of talk about the conditions for aircraft. And this only pertains to Max Westheimer Airport up on the north side of Norman. So you'll just be talking about the sort of conditions, aviation conditions at that airport. And then Thursday for our climate shift, there's a climate discussion. And this is a fun thing. So typically the first couple weeks, you're going to want to present the discussions on the TVs and work your way through them as a group with the shift attendees. And like I was saying, maybe just throw up a forecast discussion from NWS Norman on the computer so that people can familiarize themselves with this. And then you've got to explain some relevant stuff like Zulu time or Z time. There's some conversions in the OWL lab taped up on the wall. You'll talk about weather models, how we use those to forecast, observations, and whatever else might be relevant. Some days, right, these are going to be pretty easy to write. Typically at the beginning of the fall, right, or end of the summer, there's not too much weather going on. But sometimes, we can have snowstorms, we can have severe weather. So that's when those would be a bit more difficult. And generally, as time goes on, you're going to give attendees more autonomy over the discussions. But, like I said, for those big events, perhaps snowstorms or severe weather events, consider writing them as a group again. But typically, at least what most shift leaders do is they just, or at least in my shift, we would just give out, I would say, hey, who wants to do this? Who wants to do the Norman synopsis? Somebody would raise their hand, write their name down on the board, and they do that. And then a good tip here is to write the discussion in a separate document and then copy and paste to the website. I don't know if there's as many issues with this now, but it's just easier to write it in, say, a notes document or a Google Doc and then copy and paste it in and submit it. And you're going to want to really double and triple check that those forecast discussions submit. Keep your language professional, but also don't be afraid to sort of take some risks in these forecast discussions. This is your time to learn and grow as a shift leader and as well as your attendees. So like I said, keep it professional, kind of base it off of how the National Weather Service does it, but try to make it your own. You can just copy what they say, but this is really this is led by us. This is a student-led thing. This should be your work at the end of the day. So make it fun. Do whatever you want. Make it fun, but keep it professional, and you guys got this.
I just wanted to chime in that I know in Tuesday shift, whoever would do the Norman point forecasting, we would usually have them do the Norman discussion as well, just because they're already looking at the the week for Norman and stuff, at least for the next 24 hours, and
Yeah,
so they can just like
that's a good idea.
look at it and then write the Norman discussion.
Yeah, it depends on attendance, right? I mean,
Right.
if your shift has a bunch of people, you can dole them out pretty easily. But if your shift has, like, say there's low attendance at the shifts, one person might have to do two or something. So yeah, it's definitely shift dependent, but that's a good idea for sure to have the person who's doing the Norman point forecast do the Norman discussion. So
Yeah. So the next thing is Baron graphics. So you need to update tonight's low and tomorrow's high for all 13 cities. You'll let attendees choose the cities. Or if no one speaks up, you can always just hand them out because some people just don't want to speak up. So you use GFS at its coolest, which is around 12Z, and at its warmest, which is around 21Z as a guide. and you have to make sure you click the button after each city because it doesn't automatically save whenever you just adjust the temperatures. Um, there are some instructions on the right side of the screen. Um, Pretty easy. On the Lab desktop, you just click VNC Viewer, click the links window. The password is nightly if you need it. And Baron Quick Editor should be open already. But if not, you just click the links application box, then the Quick Editor button that appears in the top right corner. For each city on the left, change to night low, overnight, and tomorrow's high. If you're Sunday night shift, update overnight low and Monday's high, and then click the save check mark. And Andrew was so nice to include a picture of snow totals you could do with Fairy Graphics. Because who doesn't love snow maps? I don't know how to do them. Do you know how to do them?
There was one shift where the map was up and we're like, hey, let's have fun with this. And so you'll find stuff on Baron. Obviously don't like change settings and stuff, but you can do some fun
Right.
stuff with it. That was one shift like in January when we had some snow coming through. So yeah. But that's what Baron looks like. Um, is that all you want to say about that one?
Yeah.
All right.
So next up is a Facebook post. As you can see, there's the little name your profile picture up top. That's what you're going to follow. If you do need access to the Facebook, if you don't already have it, you can ask the ops team. We'll make sure you get in, make sure you can have access to it. If you don't have access to it by like the first week you're doing your shift, then you can always post it in the shift leader chat, and then someone will make sure to post it for you. But the layout of the Facebook posts are pretty simple. You start off with good evening or good afternoon, just whenever you're doing it. Um, just good evening or good afternoon, Sooners. And then you're forecasting that night into the next day for Norman, so the next 24 hours. And then you could end it with a statement like, have a great day, or stay hydrated if you'd like. It's totally optional, but it's kind of super fun to do it. And the best advice I've heard is just write it like you're writing a forecast for your grandma. Should be easy to read, should be easy to understand.
Cool. So next up, we're gonna talk about the Key West podcast. First off, I've bolded the email address that you need to send forecast to. And then in the shift leader manual, which I said, we'd show you guys where that is. The bottom right is a screenshot of that. You're gonna talk about the high for the forecast date. So this is played on 106.9 FM Key West. There's a radio station down there that they play this on. This plays throughout the day. So try not to say when you're doing this podcast, don't say like good morning, don't say good afternoon, just say something like, hey, what's up? Something like that. Maybe a bit more formal than that, but this plays throughout the entire day down there. So you're just going to talk about the high for the forecast date. So for instance, if you're doing the Wednesday night shift, you're going to talk about the high for Thursday. You're also going to talk about the low for the next morning. So that'll be the low, once again, if you're doing the Wednesday shift and you're talking about Thursday, you're going to talk about Thursday night's low. And then you're going to do a chance for precipitation, wind speed direction, basically just any relevant weather. If there's a tropical storm coming their way or hurricane, make sure to take note of that. Obviously, lots of people are hearing this, so be smart with what you're saying. Don't go crazy with that. If there's not a hurricane showing up on the NHC, do not talk about it. We do not want to spread misinformation, so just be responsible if there's a hurricane coming. And then kind of just week one, explain the podcast to attendees, and just record it yourself. Maybe have them just listen in. And you're going to do that on Audacity. So on the desktop computer, there's like an icon on the on the bar on the bottom, the applications bar. You're gonna click on that icon. It's like purple and yellow, and it's got some headphones. You're gonna click on that.
Kind of looks like a hamburger with headphones.
Yeah, yeah. And do we record it in is it stereo? What's the mode for it? Do you remember?
I
Um,
don't. I've only ever recorded it like once and
yeah.
then on my laptop, so
There's a specific mode. It says in the shift leader manual, but you have to make sure you're recording in the correct mode. Um, I think there's really only 2 or 3 options. So just check out that shift leader manual because I don't know off the top of my head. And then you're going to save that as an MP3, and then you are going to email that to weather4keywest@gmail.com. Um, like I said, double check, make sure that email's sent because this is something that happens every day. Um, and then anyone who does a podcast gets to sign the 1069 FM shirt, which is hanging on the lab desktop computer desk. So you can kind of use that to um, get your attendees to do the to do the podcast, because sometimes people are pretty shy about the podcast, right? Because it's speaking, but you can kind of lure them in with getting to sign the shirt. So
another thing, um, just a warning, the microphone in the Owl Lab is super sensitive to noise, so everyone has to be quiet. And then the person who's recording absolutely has to take off their lanyard because it will make noise and
mhm.
it will get in the recording, and then you can't actually send it. It has to be voice only. It can't be a whole lot of noise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because even yeah, Kaylin's right. You got to be pretty quiet. Like if the door opens and shuts, like that'll go in the recording. Somebody coughs, that's gonna go in the recording probably. The really, really, like small stuff, maybe don't, like somebody drops a pencil, like you'll probably be okay. But make sure it's quiet
Yeah,
in the
don't
room.
worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure it's quiet in the room. And typically after you record it, listen to it, make sure it recorded okay, make sure that it sounds good. And then
Make
send
sure there's
that off.
no like really loud bangs or anything, because I don't think that'll be good on radio.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, cool. And then we're gonna move on to presentations now. Uh, these presentations are just when uh you or one of the other shift leaders are gonna sort of go up to the screen. You can sit at the desktop computer and work through your presentation. Sometimes I'll have it where either, you know, me or another shift leader, we're up there, and then somebody's on the desktop computer. If this is a slideshow, sort of just clicking through the slides. And then, I'll be up there talking or something. And this is really, this is pretty open-ended. Gauge the interest of your attendees. What do they want to learn about? Um, there's lots of different interests in this field. So you're really going to want to listen to what your shift attendees want to learn about, and then try your hardest to, if it's a topic you're not familiar with, maybe talk to someone who knows a bit about it, and this can be a collaborative thing. Um, but uh, typically what happens is you'll get the shifts, I feel like, typically sort out that there's like a general interest of the shifts, but um, like I said, ask your attendees what they want to hear. And then really though, that those sort of make your own presentations, those are going to come probably the second week or after, because that first week you're just going to want to summarize the forecasting responsibilities. Like we said, talk about Barron, talk about Key West, talk about the forecast discussions. And you're going to want to familiarize your attendees with model websites and forecasting techniques. So that should really be sort of your presentation the first week. Just looking at model websites, looking at satellite, familiarizing people with this, because not everybody's going to come in with the same knowledge level. We got to make sure we are including everyone in these shifts. And we really want everybody to get involved with this stuff. So we need people to learn, right? That the whole point is for OWL to help people learn. So that first week or two, just go over the basics. Like I said, look at model websites, forecasting techniques, stuff like that. And then once you do, maybe start getting to more specific presentations, like say you want to do a presentation about blizzards or something. Keep those presentations generally around 30 minutes. It's not a hard cutoff. You can have 45 minutes, you could have 20 minutes. Make sure your shift leaders aren't, or your shift attendees aren't bored though. You don't want people to be bored at OWL. And make these things interactive. Uh, you can invite guest speakers, you can have forecasting exercises, and just
Even just like questions around the room,
yeah,
like
yeah,
those will keep your attendees locked in.
exactly. Every once in a while, just say, hey, anybody have any questions? Because some people, some people aren't going to raise their hand on their own avail. You kind of you gotta make sure everybody's following and doing okay with the topic you're talking about. So yeah, just make it interactive. Make sure you're not just droning on forever. These should be fun, like everything else. And then I actually have a couple examples that we did last year in my shift. Like bottom left here, we had Andrew and Kelton from the SPC come in, and we did a forecasting exercise. On the right here, you can see we drew like a mock SPC outlook with their help. So that was a really fun thing. And I'll tell you, lots of people are super willing to come in and share their knowledge in your shift. It's pretty awesome. So if there is somebody who you think would be awesome to have in, or you really like what they do, or you think they're interesting, reach out to them. I found most people are very nice in this field, so don't hesitate to reach out. And if you know
A
someone who
lot
has
of people love
contact,
helping us.
yeah, yeah, people love coming into OWL. Like Andrew and Kelton, like were in OWL several years ago, and so they love to come back. And so people are really really willing to come in. So don't be afraid to reach out to people um to get these things going, because it will draw people to your shift too. It'll draw people to OWL if people hear that, oh, this person's coming in, let's go to this shift. So it's a fun thing to do. So yeah, let's like I said, keep those presentations fun. Don't drone on. Maybe have a couple guest speakers throughout the semester. And you guys do great with that.
All right, so climate shift specific things. It should include things like drought conditions, current ENSO patterns, things like Trans-Nino index, overall long range patterns. You do have to forecast for it. There's a tab on the OWL website. When you click like statewide, it'll drop down and you'll see climate, and that's where you go. It'll have synopsis, short and long range forecasts. The short range forecast should be about 1 to 2 weeks, and the long range should be around 2 to 4 weeks. You can always contact, if you do run the climate shift, you can always contact last semester's climate shift, Robbie and Sav. They would love to help you. They would absolutely love to help you if you need it.
Cool. And then, oh yeah, Kaylin, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, sure. So this year we're doing something a little new. We have decided to do kind of a monthly shift leader check-in. It's just for you to tell us how your shifts are going, if you have any suggestions for us, if you have any notes or comments. We're working towards better communication between shift leaders and the board this year. So we're really hoping that, you give us what we need. Like you give us any suggestions you need for that so that we can help you out. The form is right there. The link is right there. And hopefully you'll tell us anything you need.
Yeah, yeah, and don't be, if there are problems in your shift, if people are not being nice or not inclusive, like please tell us about that. That is not the type of environment we want to have in OWL, and we want to put the kibosh on that as quickly as possible, as some sort of, I don't really think this is, hopefully you're not gonna have to
Too
worry
much of an
about this,
issue.
but if there are bad behaviors, like tell us about it.
Yeah, we want this to be a safe space for you and for your attendees.
Yep,
We want everyone to be included. We want everyone to have fun. It shouldn't be something someone's dreading to go to.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that's what this form is for. And that's the link for that there. So and if things are going well, tell us that too. And maybe, share your secrets. What's making it go so well. So and then you guys might want to take a picture of this slide. I mean, I always just take pictures because there's so much stuff in that OWL folder. It's getting better organized, but still sometimes it's a bit hard to find things. So this is just, we tried to put together some good links here. The bottom link is probably the most important. That's the shift leader manual link. That has basically everything that we talked about and more. And then got the lab desktop password, Key West email address, Baron password, the shift leader Google form that has the responsibilities, which is different than the shift leader check-in form, which we just talked about. Also, no food or drink other than water in the OWL lab. I think that's still a rule, right?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, just because if you spill something, God
We
forbid
have
it
a
goes
lot
on
of
your
electronics
computer.
in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of electronics in there. We don't want to mess them up. So you can bring in your water bottles, but if you're gonna eat something, just go out to one of the tables in the atrium real quick. Um,
Do it outside
oh,
the lab. We don't need any crumbs, or we need to keep our lab space clean.
yeah, absolutely. Like we don't want stuff on the couch. Like yeah, so just go outside if you're gonna eat real quick. Um, there's no issue. Just don't eat inside the owl lab. And then there's just a couple forecasting links here. We're gonna share this. We'll share this presentation with you guys. We'll put it in the Discord. Um, so here's just some links that we put together. Um, Obviously these are useless unless you click on them. So, and I don't think you guys want to type those out. So we'll share this with you guys. And then there's some climate shift specific links that Caitlin tossed in here.
Courtesy of
Um,
Robbie and
yes.
Colin.
Thank you to them. And then that's all we have. You guys got this. You guys are super qualified. It's gonna be a fun year. If you need help or have questions, please talk to us. Um, it doesn't have to be me or Caitlin necessarily. It can be anybody on the board. It can be,
Mhm.
it,
Anybody in the exec.
yeah,
It could
exactly.
even be Sean. Like you have a bunch of people to talk to.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not expecting there to be any issues, but we always need to, make sure that we're cultivating a good environment. So, but yeah, let's make this a great semester. So, this is fun. I really enjoyed being a shift leader. I know Caitlin, you did too. This is a really fun experience. So, I'm happy
It
that you
really
guys
is.
are doing this. So, yeah, that's it. Caitlin, you got anything else?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, see you guys in August.